It is 8:30. Drew Swirsky, the host, co-hostess with the mostest. What is
Good
going on,
morning.
my friend? What are you
Good
grateful
morning.
for today?
Oh, I'm man. My son had a little accident in the rain yesterday, hydroplaned, and he's not hurt. So I'm very grateful for that. Tow the car. All it is metal. You can fix it or dump it. So I'm very grateful that he's in good shape.
I love it.
How old is he?
22,
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
hydroplane incident. So he was just a little panicked, but I told him, you can replace metal, can't replace you.
My first hydroplane incident was when I was 16. I was playing chicken.
No.
Red light, it's raining. I'm like, I'm not gonna stop. Give me a green. I'm not gonna stop. Give me a green. I'm not, and then I'm like, I'm not stopping. I had a whole bunch of people in the car. Boom, hit the back end of a Mercedes.
Oh,
Yeah, no fun.
no,
Anyhow, the things we learn when we're kids.
for sure.
What a good story. Julianne, tell me something good. What are you grateful for today? We're about to kick off. I need some energy.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm grateful for the holiday. So I don't have a day work today, so I'm grateful for that. I am full of energy, and I am also grateful for a 5 kilometer walk today. Yeah,
Oh, let's go.
great doing.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. We're joined today by my friend Matt London. Matt, what do you before we get into tactics and if you were here early, you get to hear Matt talking about how he's got to hire because he's got so much business, right? Because these
Yeah.
strategies we're talking about are effective. So Matt, what are you grateful for though? What's going on in your world?
I am well, I was grateful that it was 80 degrees yesterday, but it's only about 40 degrees right now. So I don't know what happened with that. But no, I'm grateful that business is overflowing, grateful my family's all healthy. We're going out of town this weekend, going up to Boston for a bit. So grateful to escape for a few days with the family and just kind of unplug for a little bit.
I love to hear that. So Matt and I were just talking just to give you some bona fides because we bring you people that are actively putting this in. Matt said he's already at 20 million in volume for the year, reach
Sure
capacity,
am.
got to hire somebody. And Matt's going to talk to us today about lead gen, right? The most
Yeah.
important pillar. Just had somebody joining the brokerage asking me, "Hey, what do I have to do?" And I was like, "Well, you learn contracts, you have to learn to talk about agency, learn to use the tools, and then you have to lead generate." Because if you don't do that, all the rest of the stuff is elementary, right? You can't get
Yeah,
into
we found out I think quite a while ago that without leads you don't really have a business, right?
yeah, pretty interesting.
It's weird how that works.
It is.
If you don't have people to work with, then you don't have a business. You've just got a fancy billboard, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So when, give me a little background. How long have you been in the industry? Did you jump right into like, yeah, walk me through a little bit of your journey, how we got to today.
Yeah, so my journey started, we'll call it the end of 2018. So I was a golf professional working at a pretty high-end golf resort, um, working a whole lot of hours for not a whole lot of money. One of my best friends, his dad, and another friend of ours came to the golf resort, and they were just there playing golf. We explored the area I was living in North Carolina, and they left, and he called me. He's like, "Dude, what's wrong? You seem miserable." I was like, "I'm working, 70 hours a week. I'm making 40 grand a year. It's just, it's not worth it." And the dad called me and was like, "Would you ever consider moving back to Delaware and getting into real estate? I really need help." And I was like, "Dude, that's so far removed from like what is even in my thinking. Like, I have no idea." So we fast forward a month later, we came up to here to Delaware. My brother got married up here. And we were here. I said to my better half, I was like, "Can you see yourself living here?" She's like, "Yeah, why? What are you thinking?" And I was like, "Well, Tyson called me and he wants me to move up here and sell real estate with him." She's like, "Real estate? You're in the golf business. Like, what are you even talking about?" So, from there, I took all the real estate classes and everything, did it all while I was still living in North Carolina. I moved back in March of 2019 to Delaware, um, and started working basically as his assistant to try and learn all the ropes. So I started March of 2019. Fast forward, my 1 year anniversary of being in the business is the same day they shut down the world for COVID-19. So I went from all this hope and promise that I'm getting into this new business. We're going to make, more money. We're going to work less hours. Going to spend more time with the family. It's all of a sudden like I've got more time with the family than I ever thought I could have because you can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So 2020 was a little bit of an adventure, obviously. 2021, I stumbled upon a Facebook group more so because I was looking around. I had done a couple deals here and there. Um, I was looking around my office and I was like, man, these people are so much more successful than me. Like, what is the difference between them and me? Like, if they can do it, I can do it, but I'm not sure why they're seeing the success and I'm not. And I'm 2.5 years in the business at this point. I stumbled upon a Facebook group that was uh, YouTube for real estate agents or something similar was the name. And I just opened it. And that was probably like May or June of 2021. And I started kind of following the posts in there and seeing all these people having success. And I finally messaged one of them. I was like, what are you doing? Like, what's the story here? What's the snake oil? Like, what are you guys selling basically? Like, I was skeptic of it. Um, and he's like, dude, I post videos and people call me. And I was like, you're full of it, but okay. So I took another probably month or so to like fine tune like what I wanted to say, how I wanted to do it. And I just started remaking the same videos these people were making, but about my area. And 3 videos in, I got my first call, and that was kind of the proof of concept. And I was like, I'm just going to hammer this without fail for the next 6 months. And if nothing else comes of it, at least I learned kind of what not to do. One
What's your
full
area,
year.
Matt?
Yeah,
What
so I'm
area
in
specifically? Yeah.
I'm in coastal Delaware. So the beaches in Delaware, kind of the southeastern corner of Delaware is where we're at. We exclusively pretty much cover the beach markets and the surrounding towns. So it's not a very big area. Um, it's a high price point. A lot of people are relocating here from other states to escape high tax areas, places like New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, all that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, when I committed to finally creating some of the content, I started putting out YouTube videos. I committed to one YouTube video per week. Um, Part of my limited belief, or I guess my drunk monkey on my shoulder, was I went on TikTok because TikTok was like the craze at the time. And there was another real estate agent from Delaware who was already on TikTok, and he had 1 million followers. And my immediate thought process was, okay, well, that space is taken. So then I went over to Instagram, and this same guy that had 1 million followers on TikTok, he had like 58,000 followers on Instagram. And I was like, all right, well, that space is taken. And I went over to YouTube, and he wasn't on YouTube. And I was like, oh, this is my opportunity. Like, there's nobody. There was a couple other people making videos, but none of them had like thousands and thousands of followers. There's a couple people with a couple hundred followers. And I was like, this could be the opportunity that I could take over the space. So I just started posting one YouTube video a week for the foreseeable future. I don't think I missed a single week from the day that I started posting. It happened to be my daughter's birthday. It was August 4th of 2021. I didn't miss a single week for the first like 18 months. Um, Through the 2020 end of 2023 and 2024, I missed some weeks there because I got so busy and I didn't hire at the appropriate times like I should have, which we probably tell so many people about. But the first full year that I was on YouTube, I made over $100,000 in GCI directly attributed to the channel. And it was the first time in my life that I made 6 figures. So that was kind of like this,
Let's
the
go.
first person calling me 3 videos in was kind of like my first proof of concept. And then when I looked back after the first year, I was like, holy shit, like this thing's cranking out like a lot of business for me. How do I do more? How do I build it bigger? Um, so I started leveraging some stuff out, started leveraging like editing because I was doing it all myself in the beginning because I was flat broke. So first thing I leveraged was editing. Then I brought on a VA. Now I've got VA, in-person assistant, and an editor.
So let's walk through how many videos had you made before you leveraged it out?
I waited too long. So I started, like I said, in August of 2021. I
Yeah.
went to Keller Williams family reunion actually in Anaheim of February 2023. And I had a conversation with another agent who was posting videos on YouTube and seeing a lot of success. And she flat out asked me, she's like, who's doing all your video editing now? I was like, well, what do you mean I'm doing it? And she's like, Matt, you're not doing your editing. I was like, yeah, I do it every week. What are you talking about? Like, who's doing your editing? Like, I didn't know there was another way. And she's like, "You're going home and you're at least calling this company that I'm using and just have a conversation with them. And because you need to get that off your plate." I mean, I was spending, I don't know, 15 to 20 hours a week editing videos. It was a time suck. Um, at the time when I first brought them on, I thought it was a very big number and I was uncomfortable paying it. Now that I look back at the ROI, I'm like, that was the best money I ever spent. Um, I saw a comment there. How much was it? So the first editor I brought on for 4 videos a month, I was paying them $900 a month to edit it, which when you're not making a whole lot of cash, that seems like a really big number. Um, like I said, now looking back at it though, it's like the best $900 a month that I ever spent. Now I've upgraded and I pay a whole team more than that. Um, but it's been a learning journey to reinvest the funds because for the longest time I had kind of that scarcity mindset where, what if it doesn't come back kind of thing.
So that's about 60 bucks an hour if you're spending 15 hours doing this.
Yeah, that was myself. They can do it probably faster than I can, but the
Yeah.
quality, the funny part is it takes them less time to edit, but the quality of the edit is 10x what I was doing because I didn't know how to use the
Good.
software. I didn't know how to do any of it. Um, and there were so many times where like I would start doing something and then I would have to undo it and redo it the right way because again, I didn't know what I was doing. So it became quite the learning curve.
Can I make a comment on something you
Yeah,
said? One of the beautiful things about having your own channel is that you own that, right?
yeah.
You own that. And it's an asset. And I see people spending $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month on something that could get shut off on them like that. Now, of course, YouTube could go away, right? But your content is your content and you've built an asset. And so it's really powerful that you not only are you generating leads from it, but you actually own it, right?
Yeah.
Like you own your brand. That's incredibly important for people to understand.
Yeah, and that was part of my original thinking too. Is when I first got in the business, the first brokerage I hung my license at was Remax, and there was a lady who she owned the Remax office, but also ran a team there, and they were spending $16,000 a month on Zillow leads. And again, flat broke. I was making 40 grand a year getting into the real estate business, so like every penny that I had was like in savings to try and make it the first 6 or 7 months without a deal. And I heard that number and I was like, if I've got to spend that much money a month, I'm doomed. Like I can't make it in this business because I didn't have the money. Um, Lo and behold, you can start on social media for free, and it'll end up being something bigger than you ever thought it was.
No, that's great. So you went along, you leveraged this, you did it all kind of yourself, which we had Patrick saying the same thing. He's like, this is my lead generation. So I'm
Yeah,
spending, he's still doing it himself, 3 to 4 hours a day on this. This is what I do. This is my lead gen pillar.
certainly.
Yeah, then you hired somebody, and because I think there's a lot of limiting beliefs about YouTube, like how to do it. Like I can't do it. It's too much. Like you said, your third video. What was that video that you got that made someone call you?
So it's tough to attribute to like one specific video because most of the time people are calling me, they're like, "Hey, we've been watching your content for the last 2 years, or we've been
Yeah.
watching your videos for the last 6 months." I think it's more of like people aren't going on to YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or any of those to learn the 4 ways to buy a house or learn the 6 things you need to do before selling your house. Like they're just not. Like as much as real estate agents, as much as we want to cram that stuff down people's throats, like the consumer truly doesn't care about the 4 things I need to do to make sure my house is showing ready. Because when they hire you, they want you to handle that thing. They don't want to know what it is. They just want to pay. Like if they're paying you a big sum of money, which a lot of times, like our compensation fees can get pretty high. So if they're paying you that money, they expect you to take care of it. So a lot of the videos are more like area driven. What's the pros and cons of living here, and be truthful. If you look at any tourism website or anything, you would think that every single area is only sunshine and rainbows all the time, and that there's never a downside. So I just started giving people like my true like, hey, here's the pros and cons. Here's the cost of living. Like, we're pretty low cost for a lot of things, but this is probably higher cost than where you're currently at. And just be honest with them. And if you're the one that's giving the information about the area, that's what all these people are trying to learn. They don't really care about the home buying process. They want to know like what it's like to live there. Where's the best places to eat? What's going on in town? What's that new project that they're building down the road? All of that kind of stuff hits home a lot harder than, any of the, here's how to get your home ready type of thing. Because if you go on YouTube and type in like the stages of buying a home, there's probably 4 trillion results of people that have already made that video. And so competing in that space is very difficult. And it's oftentimes information that the consumer doesn't really actually want to know. Real
Hey,
estate agents want to know it, but the consumer doesn't care.
hey, Matt, I got a two-part question here. So I watched some
Yeah.
of your videos last night about, or the one about retirement.
Yeah.
Is that you? Like with some,
It-
like they
the
made you
the
old on the
thumbnail,
video?
the thumbnail, yeah, is me.
Yeah.
That's me. Yeah.
Man, that looks like exactly what you're going to look like when you get old, man.
Yeah, I
Crazy.
don't know what AI software they use to generate that image, but yeah, that's me. They just took my picture and put it through some software to make me look old.
Man. And so I'm a real estate coach, right? And a lot of the stuff I get when I tell people to make videos is what content do I come up with? How do I come up with different content all the time? What's your planning like when so you're going to do one a week? Do you
Yeah.
plan it out in advance, months in advance? Do you have content like, will you think of something and then put a note in your phone? Like, how do you keep your content?
Yeah, so it's morphed a little bit through the years. Most often, like when I first got started, I would look at what other real estate agents were doing. I joined again that Facebook group that I mentioned, and I just looked at the most successful people in there. I was like, what kind of content are they putting out? And a lot of times it was like the pros and cons living in your area, the cost of living in your area. Um, Sometimes you do like reasons not to live here, and it's the same cons as your pros and cons list, but it's only the cons, not the pros.
Right.
Just breaking them out like that. So I just looked at a lot of what other agents were doing. And then I'm also, I'm sure like you guys all have local Facebook groups of like, your area or whatever. And so I joined as many of those as I could find. If people were asking a lot of the same questions over and over, I would just make a video about it. And the reason why is because I figured if they were asking the question to a Facebook group, they're probably asking it on Google, and Google owns YouTube. So anytime they type that question into Google, my videos come up, and now I become the person that has the information for them.
Everybody should
Um,
write that part down.
and then I created like on my phone, I've just got in my notes app, I've just got a note called videos. And like anytime I heard a lot of clients asking the same questions, anytime I heard a lot of those Facebook group questions, I would just type them as a note in there. Like, and then if I'm ever stumped, I just go back and reference that. Um, Luckily now I'm at the point where I've got a whole team that does research and scripting and everything for me. So that part's been taken off my plate.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what, you talked about people are coming there, they're looking for information. So I love that, right? We're providing location information, we're providing
Yeah.
information that clients actually want and what we want to tell them. What have you done to and Julian, if you can look up Matt's Instagram handle, we'll take care of that. I'm dropping this YouTube group that he leads. I see the comments. What videos are you doing that really are driving engagement? Like so what
Yeah. So we start, there's really like a funnel to it, even on YouTube. Like I start with very broad information, like the pros and cons of living in Delaware is a very broad topic. Um, the things that I would consider more narrow are like the best 55 and over neighborhoods in coastal Delaware. So you got to think like, who are you trying to serve? For me, I knew that retirees were going to be moving here in the highest percentage because they're all trying to escape those high tax markets, which it's no secret. Like if you go to any restaurant around here, most of the people in there are going to be retirees. Um, so I wanted to figure out a way to connect with those people. So again, the wider funnel is more like just general area stuff, the pros and cons of living here, the cost of living here, those kind of things anybody wants to know. When I get more specific towards my client, it's like retiring in coastal Delaware, the best 55 and over neighborhoods in coastal Delaware, and more like specific pointed information towards that exact demographic. And I think that kind of helps point me in that direction. So I was looking at it last night because I knew obviously I was going to be on here. It's something like 68% of my viewers are over 64 years old. So I had, again, a limiting belief at the start, like how many people over the age of 60 are even going to be on YouTube? And now I look back and I'm like, holy smokes, like the vast majority of the people that are watching my stuff are over 64. The oldest person that I've helped through YouTube was 86 years old.
So when we're talking, that's amazing. And when we're talking about a funnel, just for anyone that has no idea what a funnel is, and that's cool, it'd just be what is the broadest possible audience I could reach? So I'm going
Yeah,
with the
go wide
wide
and get narrow.
geographic one. And then I'm going with the more narrow, hey, they're already seeing my content, so they're likely maybe to see another video. And now I'm going with something that's a little more narrowly focused about retiring in the area, right? Like the content itself is the funnel, but I got to
Right.
have some broad that's going to appeal to everybody. And then the content itself, like when I'm starting to get very specific about, then are
Yeah,
you
so
doing a lot of,
the wide stuff is going to be content that works for anybody. The narrow stuff would be like, hey, I know who my ideal client is. I know who I want to work with. What's a video that they would need?
mm-hmm.
So that takes you from that really wide, anybody wants to live in Delaware, down to if you're retiring at the beaches in Delaware, here's what you need to know. So that's kind of the process of it.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And so, what I think would be good to do, Drew, is let's talk some general stuff, and then we can get really tactical, and we can ask all the nerdy questions in there if that's fine for somebody about. Um, what's your conversion look like? Like, how are you taking them off of YouTube and into an appointment with you?
Yeah, so I say in just about every video, if you're looking to buy or sell real estate in coastal Delaware, me and my team would love to help. All our contact information is going to be down below in the description. I provide a way for, I never wanted to be the person that's like, hey, call me and here's my phone number. And the reason why is I know sometimes I lay in bed at night doom scrolling and it may be 1 in the morning. The last thing I wanted was phone calls at 1 in the morning. So I gave people a way that they could kind of find me however they felt most comfortable. So I created a Google form that was for buyers. I created a Google form that was for sellers. Both of those are in the description of all my videos. I put in my email address and my phone number. Most often, I would say probably 90% of people email me first. A lot of them feel so comfortable with me because they feel like they know me. Like the people that I talk to are like, we feel like we're your best friend and you don't even know who we are. Um, and for those people, like the first email to me is typically like paragraphs long of, hey, we've been watching your content for the last year, 2 years, whatever. Here's our life story. We want to move to Delaware. And so like the conversion rate for me, once I get them to actually reach out to me, the people that I talk with or work with, they typically either buy or sell with us or they don't transact in my area. So there is no, hey, we're interviewing 7 different agents. Um, I don't have like a competition. I don't want to say it like it sounds cocky, but like I don't have a competition problem because these people are only coming to me.
Mhm.
Um, and if on occasion I do have people that are like, hey, we're also going to talk to these other couple agents, particularly on the selling side, I just show them the stats of how many people we reach organically a month. And the conversation becomes like, do you want to be in front of 1 million people or do you want to be in front of whoever they put in the MLS? Your choice.
I love that. I saw somebody who was with Sirhant, Ryan Sirhant,
Yeah.
and he was breaking down, Sirhant had shared, he got 30,000 views, and he was breaking down the math on Instagram of like why an agent can't do this. Like it's mathematically not feasible to pay to reach 30,000 people. Like
Yeah.
you've got to work with someone that has organic following, organic reach. Like
Yeah.
if that's what you want, like it's a really killer edge.
It is. And there's something about being on camera each and every week that builds trust with people. So they feel like, they're open and honest with me from the start. Like there is no rapport building because for them, they already know me. It's just me getting to know them at that stage.
What's your split of how many buyers do you work with? How many sellers do you work with?
It's definitely buyer heavy. Part of that is because of the way the content that I set up, where it was more focused on people relocating here.
Sure.
The trouble that I found at the start was most of the people that were transacting in the area we're a small, I mean, Delaware's small, but like if you go into any bar, any hair salon, anything, all of those people have their real estate license. So I found the people that were already living here probably knew at least 10 agents. And it was
Yeah.
going to be hard for me as a new agent to compete in that space. So I just went after the people that were moving into the area that likely didn't have somebody already in their Rolodex to call. So it's mostly buyers. It's probably, I think last year we were like 65-35, 65% buyers, 35% sellers, um, across the entire year.
Drew, keep me honest before I start nerding out on some tactical stuff and we get real technical on the YouTube. What have I not asked yet? You're muted, big dog.
Somebody muted me. That's crazy. Sorry. Smart. So I like to start from like beginning to end, right? So equipment wise, right?
Yeah.
And being a coach, people always say, well, I don't have the right equipment, or I can't afford this. Like, because remember we're doing 40K. That's it, right?
I think
Still,
everybody carries a supercomputer in their pocket.
yeah.
They film commercials on these things. So,
So that you're still
um,
doing that, even though you've upped the game.
no, I've got an actual like camera now.
Okay.
But these things film in 4K. So like
Yeah.
it's plenty powerful for what you need. Um, I would tell somebody before you go spend a bunch of money on like a fancy camera and all that kind of stuff, the first place you want to start is audio. So get like a lapel mic. You can get one for like 30 bucks probably on Amazon. If you want to go higher end than that, you certainly can, but people will watch a grainy video. People will not listen to a video with shitty sound. They just won't. Because if it's got like a bunch of echo to it, or if it's like cutting in and out, they're gonna be like, I can't even understand what this guy's saying. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I find a lot of times that, at least like when I consume content on, YouTube or various platforms, I'm not even watching. I might be on the treadmill or something, and I've just got the phone in the cup holder, and I'm just listening to what they're talking about. Um, so the video quality doesn't have to be the highest, but your audio has to be great. From there, I would do audio, then I would do lighting. Like I'm sitting next to a big wide open window, so the lighting in here is pretty good. If you don't have that kind of space that you can film in, get a couple softbox lights that you can get on Amazon for probably less than $100. Um, and then from there, that's when I would start venturing into maybe some camera kind of stuff if you want to. I know some people who are very successful on YouTube and they still film on their laptop with their laptop camera.
Oh,
So it
wow.
doesn't have to be like this crazy big thing. I think a lot of people get stuck in what I call gear acquisition syndrome, where you feel like you need the best tech all the time in order to compete, and it's just simply not the reality.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Last thing for the beginner, editing before they can go to an editor and pay $900 or more per month.
Yeah.
What software were you using in the beginning?
I started with iMovie because it was pre-downloaded for free on my on my MacBook laptop, and I didn't have to pay for it. When I finally went into a paid software, I was using a program called what the heck was the name of it? I had it on my iPad. I was doing my video editing on my iPad, and the app that I downloaded that was like the big spend for me was $24. It was a one-time purchase, and it was $24. And that felt like a huge thing. And then from there, I did like 2 months of using Photoshop or Adobe's Premiere Pro or whatever it's called. Um, I quickly realized that like I don't need to spend $65 a month or whatever the heck the cost of that is, because I didn't know how to use 99% of the features in there. So like it was doing me no good. Um, there's some good free ones online. DaVinci Resolve is pretty good. Um, which you can get all those for free or low cost if you want to go to their paid model. I think it's 10, $20 a month, something like that.
If I go to your Facebook group, do you have some pin posts there with maybe gear and some of this stuff?
I think I do. If I don't, I can add them. Um, but yeah, I've got a Facebook group called the YouTube Agent where, I would drop in, share tips, answer questions, that kind of stuff directly about YouTube.
Awesome. I'm not on that one. I'm on the other one here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, the long and short of it. I've got a couple.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. So we'll find that. We'll drop that in the comments there. You ready to
We have
get
a
nerdy
question.
about, should we get nerdy about YouTube? Is that cool with everybody? 'Cause I got some very specific comments. So
Yeah.
first one I think is just content is what they're really asking
Yeah.
is how do you handle scripts? So you said you are indeed you ripped off and duplicated
Yeah.
somebody in another market to get started,
Yeah.
right?
So I found things basically that I knew I could talk about. Things like the pros and cons of living in your area. Like you probably have some opinions on what's great and what's not great about living in your area. Um, you could pretty easily script one of those out probably pretty quickly. And if you can't figure it out, if you just go on Google and type in the pros and cons of living in whatever your market you're in, there's probably at least one blog article that you can take the information off of that and repurpose it into video form. So there's a lot of times where like I'm not the original thinker of these ideas or like the information behind them. I'm just the one that's putting it on video. A lot there's probably bloggers in your area. There's probably other real estate agents that have blogs that that might have a VA or something that's writing it. Um, you can take their information and just be the one to put it on video, and you become the quote unquote knowledge broker because you're the one that's actually in front of the camera talking about it. Now
You did that.
with the advancements over the last, I guess we'll call it a year now, of the AI technologies and all that kind of stuff. Like if you go into Chat GPT or Claude or one of those and just type in like, I want to create a YouTube video about the pros and cons of living in East Tennessee. Can you give me a script where it's 5 pros and 5 cons? It's probably going to spit something out in like 15 seconds. If I had the AI now that is available back when I started, I probably would have been able to, put out a lot more content, a lot more consistently, because again, you can script something in under probably 10 minutes now.
That's awesome. Um, so I went back, I looked at Matt's channel. Do your research, y'all. Like we were bringing you, success leaves clues. I looked at your oldest videos. I see they've got like, you have the thumbnails. Like, were you like creating, how are you, walk me through that. You're like, okay, I know I need to create like a custom thumbnail. Like I'm gonna figure out how to edit this on Canva or something.
Yeah, so I was using PicMonkey,
Okay.
was the software that I was using. Again, a lot of those thumbnails, I was looking at what other successful people were doing. So not just in the real estate space. I think everybody probably knows who like Mr. Beast is and all that kind of stuff. Like I would keep an eye on like who these big YouTubers were and what the trends they were doing on their thumbnails, like what, because they would change them like every month or two, like they would change the color of the text or the style of the text or the expression on their face. So a lot of that stuff I just tried to mirror, because if it was working for somebody who had so much more success than I did, why would it not work for me?
Did being a golf pro help? I feel like you're very like, they did this, so I tried to do the same thing they were doing. I feel like there's some
I am
application
I am
there
no
from,
Yeah, I'm notoriously stubborn. So yeah, I mean, in the golf industry, there was a lot of just repetitive beat your head against the wall kind of stuff. And, I just kind of figured, hey, if somebody else is more successful and it's working for them, why would it not work for me? Like I didn't see it. I guess my dumb thinking was like, why would it like what would make it not work? Why wouldn't it work? I was just too ignorant to think that it was even like failure was even a possible like option. Like I just kept doing it.
so I love that. So we had a couple of different questions. One was, um, and hopefully, Mason, if they didn't answer your question, feel free to like chime in. We can go deeper on this. But Bo had asked, like, can you walk through like some of the technical stuff, like hashtags or like description or right? Is those things you had to use to optimize?
So funny
I
enough,
guess
in
let's say
YouTube,
description and keyword, like SEO keywords, things
yeah,
like that.
so in YouTube, a little bit different setup than like an Instagram or one of those. You can actually go into the YouTube Studio, which is the back end of YouTube, and you can create upload defaults. So that means like anytime you upload a video, the same things happen, whether that's description, whether that's location, whether that's, those kind of things. So I wrote, God, we're probably going back to 2022-ish now. I wrote a description of like, hey, if you're looking to buy or sell, and it had like all my information. It mentioned coastal Delaware probably 5 or 6 times in different capacities. It had our buyer form, our seller form. That description that you see in all of my videos, with the exception of probably the first like 3 or 4 sentences, because sometimes I vary those based on the video, everything else is just an auto upload. So I just tried to put in as much keywords into that I could. And then there's also a section on there which they claim doesn't have a lot of weight, but I didn't want to chance it, I guess. So there's a tag, or there's a section of tags that you can do on YouTube. They don't get posted to like the public eye. Like if you looked at my video, you wouldn't know they were there. But those are like kind of like hashtags are on Instagram, just designed for YouTube instead. So the tag that I set out, I think they give you 500 characters, maybe 250 characters. I forget how many it is. But I just typed in like moving to Delaware, moving to coastal Delaware, moving to Rehoboth Beach, moving to Lewis. Like I just typed in like everything that I could think of that would be pertaining to my channel, about relocating to the area. I put the city names in there, probably like 7 different ways. Um, again, just trying to create as much traction as possible. And then one thing I saw another agent do, and I'm not sure if it has a positive or negative effect, but I always tagged the location of the video because they give you an option to tag the location. I always tagged it as my Google business like page. So the location is always just like Matt London Realtor. I figured if Google owns YouTube, there has to be some level of benefit of linking those two items together. So I just what I always done. I don't know if that's driven any results or not, but just little things like that to try and get as many eyes on the videos as possible. The biggest thing though for getting your content in front of people is consistency. The biggest issue that I see, I uploaded the same day at the same time for the first probably year and a half. It was Wednesdays at noon, and I didn't miss. You start to build. What I tell people is like Grey's Anatomy. My fiance loves Grey's Anatomy. That's on ABC or whatever Monday nights at whatever time. If Grey's Anatomy decided that next season their business model was going to be, hey, week 1 it's Monday at 8, week 2 it's Wednesday at 3, week 3 it's Friday at 4, like you would never know when to turn the TV on to watch this program. A little bit different now that we have streaming, but like think back to before streaming times where you had to be at the TV at that time. If those TV shows were kind of all over the map with when they were posting them, you would never watch it because you wouldn't know when it was. So I attribute the same thing to YouTube. Like pick a day and time, doesn't matter what it is, but pick a day and time and just post at that same day and time, at least until you have enough data that says, hey, look, your viewers are on this day at this time. So now I know like Sunday and Monday afternoons are my highest viewership times. So we post about an hour before the peak time typically, just so when those people happen to turn on their TVs or open their phone apps to YouTube, I've got a fresh new video that's there for them to watch.
And is there anything, I guess, how many videos would you commit to doing? Because I'm hearing you, it's like it's consistency instead of me getting
Yeah,
caught
one
in
video a week.
gear, you caught up in everything else. Like how long? You said you got a call on your third video, but how long? I know Ken Posick said he committed to doing 100 videos and nothing really popped until like 93.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be dependent a little bit on your area, how much competition is there in the area. Like if you go on there and there's 30 people on YouTube that are posting consistently, like you're going to have to put in some work to break through that noise. Um, I got lucky. The first person called me 3 videos in. Business didn't start like consistently flowing until probably 6 to 8 months in. So
Okay.
there was some lean times at the start. But just like the first round of mailers that you sell out or send out, like you're not likely to get a call on that first set that you send out, or the first cold call that you make. You're probably not likely to get somebody to work with you on that first call. The power of it though is that it's constantly lead genning for me, so people can watch it whenever they want. Over the last 28 days, because that's how YouTube Studio tracks it. Over the last 28 days, we've reached 25,000 views on our content, which to make 25,000 cold calls, it would take you years. So you're compacting time by putting that all together. But yeah, consistency, I would pick a day and a time, just post it. Doesn't have to be perfect. But I also wouldn't expect results, 2 weeks in.
What do you wish you knew when you start? Now that you mentioned I would have hired editing sooner. Like, what do you wish you knew now that
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, really, that's the biggest piece is I am notoriously late to hire. As we were just talking about, I'm working way too long right now because I have waited too long to bring agents on and that kind of stuff. I would have leveraged out sooner. I think I would have seen a lot more success a lot earlier because I wouldn't have been doing as many things. Um, I just had that scarcity mindset of like, what if it all disappears tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah. And you're spending all the money you have coming in. I can
Yeah.
appreciate that, right? Um, what do you wish I asked you that I didn't ask you?
I mean, I can get as technical as you want. The biggest thing I would say is like if you're going to go out and create YouTube content, I would try and aim for content that's at least 8 minutes in length. Um, if it's shorter than 8 minutes, it just gets shown to less people because if you ever watched a YouTube video, which I'm assuming if you're on this call, you've probably watched at least one YouTube video in your life. Um, if you've ever watched one and there's an ad in the middle of the video, the video has to be at least 8 minutes long in order for YouTube to put those midstream ads in. So if you have a video that's at least 8 minutes long, that signals to YouTube that they can make more money off you through ad spend. So they push those videos to more people because they can make more money on it. Now, I do say that a little bit tongue in cheek because if the content isn't worth that long of a video, don't try and add filler words and try and drag it out to where it gets 8 minutes. There's some times where I've got 5 minute videos and that's just it is what it is. Um, but don't think that like the other part of that is like don't think you can make a video that's too long. The new people that I'm working with to do all my research and all that kind of stuff, the first video that I filmed with them was 43 minutes long, which seems ridiculous, but the average view duration of that video is 38 minutes. So people on average are watching 38 minutes of me talking. Do you know how much trust they have after 38 minutes straight of listening to the same guy talk over and over again? Like those types of videos are unmatched for, rapport building and trust and all that kind of stuff. Because again, they're just sitting there watching you talk.
Um, what other, I'm gonna go to Scott's question here. Like what else about the algorithm should we be aware of in terms of optimizing content for it?
Yeah, consistency. The biggest things for like thumbnail and title. If you're making a thumbnail, try and put less than 4 words on the thumbnail. It should be like your attention grabbing thing. Like that's when somebody's scrolling through, particularly like a lot of people are gonna watch on their phone probably. Those thumbnails are hard to see on your phone because they're that big. So if you have 40 words on there, nobody can understand what it says. Um, there's been some people who have been testing, not even putting words on it, and their content's still performing. So just making a thumbnail that makes people stop scrolling, and then when they stop scrolling, what is your title that makes them click on the video? So your title should be the newspaper headline that gets people to actually click on it. The thumbnail is what gets them to stop scrolling. Never repeat your title on your thumbnail. And the reason why I say that is because Google's software is smart enough that it can read any of the text that's on the thumbnail and it can read the title. And if you have it as two different things, it reaches a greater amount of people because it thinks it's, different topics in the same video.
That's great. Scott asked, what percent of your content is evergreen versus what's relevant for a certain time? Well, I guess some of these videos you could remake, right? Because things change
Yeah,
about
so like
pros and
I just
cons.
posted the first video I ever posted in 2021 was the pros and cons of living in Delaware. If you go back and watch it, it is a terrible video. I look terrified to be on camera. The editing is awful. But it's got like 30 something thousand views, ridiculous. Um, I just remade, like I think last week we posted, maybe the week before, pros and cons of living in coastal Delaware. So it's a lot of the same content, but it's things that have, in the last 4 years, a lot of things have changed. So, just different information, but same concept of video. So like the pros and cons type of videos, yes, technically they are evergreen, but things change in your area, that kind of stuff. So you can update them. The reality is like nobody's probably going back 2 years on your channel to watch the old content. So you could remake the same video probably every 6 months and nobody would ever know the difference.
I think that's great. And if you go to Matt's channel, we've shared the link in there. Matt Lunden, Lunden, living in coastal Delaware. But if you go check it out, you can see how he's organized the playlists. But I imagine like that kind of came with like you had enough content, then start organizing the playlists. Like you were just
Correct.
you
Correct.
didn't have
Yeah,
everything planned.
I didn't
Right
start
there.
putting those playlists in until probably it was after my first year was of being on the channel. Because I eventually got to the point where like if I'm making a lot of the same kind of videos, I should probably organize those a little bit. Um, and there's been features like when I first started 4 years ago, like YouTube Shorts weren't even a thing yet. Where now you can mix in Shorts, which are like Instagram Reels, you can mix those into your content. Um, I don't see a big correlation from everybody I've talked to and all the research I've done. I don't see a big correlation between shorts viewers and long form viewers. A lot of times those are two very separate people because the short viewer I find is going there for entertainment, to kill time, that kind of stuff. Whereas the long form viewer is there to do research, they're there with a purpose, and they're there to learn, which I just don't see them a lot of times crossing paths.
Got you. So you feel like maybe chasing shorts might be a vanity metric,
I think
or
so.
just
Yeah.
a
I
very
mean,
different strategy? Maybe like it's
yeah,
more like,
it's
yeah.
it's a different strategy. I do think, don't get me wrong, there's channels that have grown very quickly, exclusively posting shorts. Um, but in the eyes of YouTube, like all of those metrics don't have the same weight. Like somebody who views a short doesn't have the same weight as somebody that watches 10 minutes of you talking. Um, a lot of times you can get a lot of followers and stuff, but followers was never really what I was after. I mean, now I've got the largest real estate channel in the state of Delaware, which again, not very big state. Um, but I think I was never after the followers. I was just after the people to call me. So how do I get in front of those people? I would much rather have 100 to 250 views of people that actually want to learn about my area and actually want to transact in real estate in my area than have a video that gets 20 million views and it's all over the globe. Because the people all over the globe are not likely going to do business with me here in little old Delaware. Those 100 to 200 people that are actually actively researching my market are probably trying to do business here.
And I think I'm glad you shared this. So we had Patrick Brussel on last
Yeah.
week, king of the short form content. We've got Matt, who's long form content, and I would they're both in the long and short of it real estate video group. I'd recommend watching both of them because they're very different. And when
Yeah.
Patrick does short form, it's effective because he's got like a very unique strategy and a way of kind of tying it back to real estate. I know what you mean. I've seen some accounts that are good with humor and they don't seem to translate in the same
Yeah, when
way.
I was originally kind of putting the plan together of going onto social media, I know I mentioned that there was the other agent that had big following, but like I also talked to other people that were posting a lot on TikTok or seeing success on TikTok and those kind of platforms. And they're like, "Oh, I post 7 times a day." And I was like, "Wow." Like, what do you mean? I knew that I could never keep up with that, but I could post one video a week.
I love that. So Cherie, you had a question, and then Matt Magel.
Hi, yeah. So actually, you kind of already answered it because I wanted to know if you ever transitioned from YouTube into other platforms, or are you still just doing YouTube and that's it?
YouTube's still it's the number one driver in our business. It was about 60% of our business last year. Year to date, it's about 75% of our business. I did start a Instagram page called Living in Coastal Delaware. It's the way the from what I've found, I started that page like in September and I'm at like 5,300 followers, something like that. What I found is YouTube is very good for me finding people in other markets. Instagram is very good at me finding people in my local market. I've only had, I think, one lead come from it, but I've gotten a lot of opportunities on Instagram through like local businesses, some networking stuff that I wouldn't have gotten even though I've been posting on YouTube for a bunch of years. So I think the YouTube stuff is great for finding people outside your market, and Instagram has become very local for me.
I love that. Matt, you had a question as well. And
Yeah, I have a question I wanted to ask, but I just kind of piggyback on what you just said there, Matt. Therefore, I'm translating oversimplification, but YouTube might be for inbound buyer business, where Instagram might be more for local seller business. Would that be to some degree true based on what you just said in terms of what you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I know people. I don't know if you guys know who Brad McCallum is. He's in Canada. He's grown $150 million a year listing business exclusively from YouTube. He started with really high end video walkthrough tours of his listings, and that's kind of where he pretty much exclusively gets listing business from his YouTube channel. So it all depends on how you set it up. I set my YouTube channel up with the idea that I wanted to capture retirees moving to this area. So because of that, that's just the business that I get. If you were to focus exclusively on content, home walkthroughs, area content, that kind of stuff, you can certainly generate a lot of seller business off of YouTube as well. But it was never my main function because, again, I moved back here after being away for a decade and didn't know anybody here. So I just needed to find humans that would work with me. And I found that most of the people here already knew a successful agent, and it wasn't me. So I had to find people that didn't know agents. So that's why I went that direction with YouTube. Now, certainly, I think it's easier to find buyers just in general than it is to find listings. But yeah, the Instagram content is more pointed at like local market, and you start building a lot of local trust that way, which again can turn into those listing opportunities and that kind of stuff because they've found you on that platform.
Then my real question, Matt, thanks for answering that, is how small of a geographic area, and whether you need to translate that into like population or whatever, do you think is maybe like the smallest you can reasonably go after in in YouTube? I have a hyper local approach myself, but I'm thinking for YouTube, do I need to broaden that geographically to like my whole metropolitan area? What have you seen in terms of lining up proper geographic focus to YouTube?
What market are you in?
Western Prince William County, west of Washington, D.C., 45 minutes.
So I would pick, kind of the same thing here. So you're not that far from me, but like my area is not big. Delaware as a state just crossed 1 million residents last year or the year before. Like it's not a big area. I would start with the area or the town or the city, whatever that is, that people would know and make content about that because that's going to be your top of funnel drive people. It could be like moving to Washington, D.C., if that's close enough for you and you service that market. I would do whatever the biggest market is that you service first. And then you can get into those smaller, more niche areas because people will come to you for that big city. And then they'll say, oh, well, I didn't know this other city existed. Perfect example. If you're not familiar with the area here, Rehoboth Beach is like the most popular beach town that we have. So a lot of the content that I made at the start was about Rehoboth Beach. And then I started breaking into some of the smaller areas, the Lewis, Milton, those kind of areas that are all around it, still very popular, but nobody really knew about them. So a lot of people came to me for that Rehoboth Beach content and then discovered that some of these other towns exist through my content, which again, if you're the person to introduce them to that market, you're probably a lot more likely to get them as a potential client because they're like, oh, well, this guy gave me the information to even know that place existed. I didn't have like a population metric. I just had where I'm living. And I didn't want to drive all over the state to get business. I wanted to drive as little as possible. So, I focused on the beach markets because I knew that everything was within like a 30 to 40-minute ride of my house.
Love that. And Matt's nodding. So Matt Lunden, I appreciate you. How can we get a hold of you? What's the best way to connect with you, stay in touch? You mentioned
Yeah.
a YouTube channel. I don't know what a
Easiest,
Facebook group. Yeah.
easiest two ways are Facebook group. I've got a Facebook group that I personally run called the YouTube Agent. More YouTube specific. I've also got another one that I help run called the Long and Short of It, which is more long form and short form video kind of combined into one group. And then the other best way is probably through Instagram. It's just at Matt Lunden, all just my name, one word. Instagram is probably where I'm most active at this stage, and it's easiest to get in contact with me there.
Love it. I appreciate it. Got the whole gang here. So appreciate you, Matt. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you.
On April Fools. Yes.
Yeah. No pranks
Go-
today.
Go follow, give Matt a follow if you want to see, what excellent looks like. So if you just time on task over time.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Hey, Matt, I got one last thing, most important
Yeah.
question. Who has the best pizza in coastal Delaware?
Man, that is a loaded question.
And this is a recorded Zoom, so tread lightly.
A lot of people fight about that. I'm
They
not
do.
sure if you spent much time here, but that is a very hot topic that
Oh,
people
I do.
fight
I
over.
used to go there as a kid, man, my family every year, man, and I know that debate.
Sure. Yeah, I think personally, I'm a big fan of Pomodoros down in Bethany. I
Okay.
think they do a nice job. Believe it or not, there's a place in Lewis. It's a bowling alley and arcade called Lefties. fantastic pizza, and in the wintertime is buy one get one free on Tuesdays. So
Oh,
we often
there you
end up
go.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll accept those.
Perfect. It's not grotto pizza, even though I love it.
Yeah.
That's the age old time, I guess. But no, I appreciate you guys having me for sure. This has been fun.
Thanks,
All right,
man.
I love it. Hey, be excellent. Tell everyone that Matt London likes Pomodoros. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. Appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.